The skies opened up just as Marcus Reed stepped out of his sleek black Tesla. Seattle rain had a way of finding you when you least expected it, and tonight was no exception. He ducked under the awning of his favorite late-night coffee shop, shaking droplets from his custom Armani jacket. The barista recognized him, immediately being worth $3 billion made anonymity impossible in this town. "The usual, Mr. Reed?" she asked, already reaching for the Guatemalan single-origin beans he preferred. "Please, Sarah," he replied with a practiced smile that graced magazine covers but never quite reached his eyes these days. As he waited, Marcus noticed her, a woman huddled in the corner table by the window, nursing what appeared to be a single cup of tea she was making last as long as possible. Despite her obviously worn clothes, there was something dignified in her posture. She sat straight-backed, her belongings what few she had neatly arranged beside her. She wasn't asking for anything, just seeking shelter from the downpour. When Sarah handed him his coffee, Marcus pointed toward the woman. "Whatever she wants to eat or drink, put on my tab." He didn't make a show of it. Performative charity wasn't his style. His phone chimed with an email notification, and Marcus nearly dropped his coffee when he saw the sender. Victoria Winters, soon to be Victoria Calloway, his ex-fiancée, the woman who had left him for his former business partner exactly 1 year ago. Asterisk Marcus, I know this might seem strange, but James and I would like to invite you to our wedding next month. We've both moved past what happened, and we'd like you there to celebrate with us. No hard feelings. Asterisk. No hard feelings? Marcus fought the urge to laugh bitterly. Victoria had walked away with $15 million in the settlement and his business partner. The attached invitation mocked him with its gold embossing and flowery script. +1, it noted, as if Marcus had had time to find someone new while rebuilding the parts of his company James had nearly destroyed on his way out. He glanced back at the woman by the window. Something about her caught his attention, a quiet strength in her eyes as she stared out at the rain. Without overthinking it, Marcus walked over to her table. "Excuse me," he said. "Would you mind some company?" She looked up, wary but not unfriendly. "Free country," she replied, gesturing to the empty chair across from her. "I'm Marcus," he said, extending his hand. "Eliza," she responded after a moment's hesitation, her handshake surprisingly firm. "And I know who you are, Mr. Reed. Your face is on the billboard 2 blocks from where I usually sleep." Her candor caught him off guard. Most people pretended not to recognize him, or fawned excessively. Eliza didn't either. "Where's that?" he asked. "Under the Fremont Bridge. At least until the police do their monthly sweep." She sipped her tea, eyes never leaving his, challenging him to show pity. Instead, Marcus found himself admiring her directness. As Sarah brought over a sandwich and fresh tea for Eliza, Marcus glanced again at the wedding invitation on his phone. A crazy idea began forming in his mind, one that would either be the most impulsive decision of his life or possibly the most meaningful. Marcus Reed hadn't always been a billionaire. Born to middle-class parents in Tacoma, he'd worked his way through college coding in his dorm room. Reed Tech started in a garage, the tech entrepreneur cliché he both embraced and resented. By 30, his cybersecurity innovations had made him a millionaire. By 35, his company had gone public, and the millions had turned to billions. He'd met Victoria at a charity gala 5 years ago. She was beautiful, poised, and seemed genuinely interested in his work rather than his wealth. Their relationship progressed too quickly, he now realized. They moved in together after 6 months, got engaged after a year. Victoria had integrated herself into every aspect of his life, including introducing her brilliant friend James Calloway, whom Marcus had brought on as OO. "I was blind," Marcus admitted to Eliza during their 3rd coffee meeting that week. He'd found himself returning to the shop each night, drawn to her straightforward conversation. James was embezzling funds, and Victoria was feeding him information the whole time. When I confronted them, they didn't even deny it. Just told me they were in love, and I needed to be the bigger person. Eliza snorted. "Sounds like you dodged a bullet, even if it hit your wallet on the way out." Her story had unfolded over these meetings, too. Eliza Foster had once been an up-and-coming fashion designer with her own small label, a bad business partner, medical bills from her mother's cancer, and the economic downturn had created a perfect storm. She'd lost her business, then her apartment, then her storage unit containing her designs and materials. 3 years on the streets changes you, she explained, absent-mindedly sketching a dress design on a napkin. You learn who you really are when everything else is stripped away. You still design, Marcus observed, nodding toward her sketch. Old habits. She shrugged. Dreams don't pay for food. But Marcus could see the passion still burned in her. Her fingers moved with precision, the lines flowing effortlessly across the napkin. This woman had talent. Even if the world had forgotten it, their unlikely friendship deepened over the next few weeks. Marcus found himself sharing things he'd never told his high-priced therapist. His fears about being wanted only for his money. His trust issues after Victoria's betrayal. Eliza spoke of the invisibility of homelessness, how people looked through her rather than at her. Then came the night when Marcus brought up the wedding invitation again. "I've decided to go," he announced. "Masochist," Eliza remarked, raising an eyebrow. "Maybe," he acknowledged with a half-smile. "But I want to show them I've moved on, that they didn't break me." He paused, gathering his courage. "Eliza, would you come with me?" She stared at him, searching his face for signs of a cruel joke. Finding none, she laughed. "Right, a homeless woman at a billionaire wedding. That won't cause a scene." "You weren't always homeless," Marcus said quietly, "and you won't be forever. Think of it as a head start on your comeback." "What's in it for you?" she asked, ever direct. "Arm candy to make your ex jealous?" Marcus shook his head. "Honestly, someone real in a room full of fake people. Someone who sees me, not my bank account." Eliza studied him for a long moment before answering. And that's a big if I agreed to this insanity, I'd need clothes. A place to clean up." "I can arrange that," Marcus said, perhaps too quickly. "I'm not a charity case, Reed," she said firmly, "and I'm not for sale." "What about a trade?" he suggested. "You come to this wedding with me, and in exchange, I'll provide startup funding for a new fashion line. Your designs, your company. No strings attached." Eliza's eyes widened slightly the first time he'd seen her truly surprised. "You haven't even seen my work." Marcus pointed to the napkin sketches scattered on the table. "I've seen enough." The transformation began not with Eliza's appearance, but with her environment. Marcus arranged for a suite at the Olympic Hotel, not his penthouse, which would have felt too presumptuous and personal. The suite gave Eliza space, privacy, and dignity, 3 things the streets had stolen from her. When Marcus arrived with shopping bags on the 3rd day, Eliza met him with hair wet from proper shower, wrapped in the hotel's plush robe. "I told you, I'm not interested in being your pretty woman project," she said, eyeing the designer bag suspiciously. "These aren't for me," Marcus clarified, setting them down. "These are from Renata, my company's fashion director. I told her your background in design, and that you needed a professional wardrobe for various events." She pulled options she thought another designer would appreciate. Eliza approached cautiously, peering into the first bag. Her fingers reverently touched the fabric of a simple but elegantly cut blazer. "This is Yamamoto," she whispered. "I'll leave you to it," Marcus said, heading toward the door. "Dinner at 7? The hotel restaurant." For the first time, Eliza smiled fully at him, a transformation in itself. 7 works. When she met him that evening, Marcus almost didn't recognize her. Eliza had chosen a minimalist black dress that spoke of understated confidence rather than flashy wealth. Her short hair, once dull and unkempt, now framed her face in a deliberate, stylish cut that highlighted her sharp cheekbones and clear gray eyes. "You clean up nice, Reed," she said, noticing his appreciation. She'd appropriated his habit of using last names, turning it into a private joke. "Not so bad yourself, Foster," he returned with a genuine smile. Over the following weeks, as the wedding date approached, their arrangement evolved into something neither had anticipated. Eliza began sketching in earnest, filling the hotel suite with designs. Marcus brought her fabric samples and introduced her to contacts in the industry, people who wouldn't have given a homeless woman the time of day, but fell over themselves to meet Marcus Reed's friend. But the true transformation wasn't happening on paper or with fabric. It was happening in quiet moments, like when Eliza found Marcus staring blankly at his phone late one night, scrolling through old photos of himself and Victoria. "You know what I learned on the streets?" she said, gently taking the phone from his hand. "The past will kill you if you let it. The only direction worth moving is forward." Or when Marcus discovered Eliza couldn't sleep in the plush hotel bed, too accustomed to hard surfaces after years without comfort. "I built my first computer on a concrete floor," he shared, helping her make a pallet of blankets beside the bed. "Slept right next to it for 3 days straight while debugging." Sometimes comfort isn't about softness. They were healing each other in unexpected ways. Eliza was rediscovering her creativity and worth. Marcus was learning that vulnerability wasn't weakness. 3 days before the wedding, they had their first argument when Marcus presented Eliza with a small velvet box. "I told you, I won't be bought," she said sharply, refusing to touch it. "It's borrowed," he explained calmly. "My mother's. She suggested it when I told her about you." Eliza froze. "You told your mother about me? What exactly did you say?" "The truth," Marcus replied. "That I met someone unexpected who's helping me remember who I am beyond read tech and bank accounts." Slowly, Eliza opened the box to find not diamonds or flashy gems, but a simple pearl pendant on a silver chain. Elegant, timeless, understated. "I can't wear this to make your ex jealous," she said quietly. "That's not why I'm asking you to wear it," Marcus admitted. "I'm asking because I'm proud to walk into that wedding with you, and I think my mother would approve." As Eliza fastened the necklace, Marcus realized something important. His desire to attend Victoria's wedding had transformed too. It was no longer about proving something to his ex or saving face. It was about closing one chapter properly so another could begin. The Callaway winner's wedding was the social event of the season, held at the Rainier Club with no expense spared. Vintage champagne flowed freely. Centerpieces featured rare orchids flown in from Thailand, and Seattle's elite mingled under crystal chandeliers, all documented by a small army of photographers for society pages. When Marcus's car pulled up to the entrance, whispers immediately rippled to the gathered guests. He hadn't publicly appeared at any social functions since the breakup. The speculation about who might be on his arm had fueled gossip columns for weeks. No one expected Eliza Foster. She emerged from the car in a gown of her own design that Renata had helped her create, a deep emerald silk that contrasted with her now healthy skin and styled hair. Simple, sophisticated, and impossible to ignore. Marcus wore a matching emerald tie with his black suit, a detail that wouldn't go unnoticed. "Ready for the wolves?" he murmured as they approached the entrance. "I lived with actual rats for years," Eliza returned quietly. "These people don't scare me." They made it halfway through the reception hall before Victoria spotted them. The bride froze mid-laugh. Champagne flute halfway to her lips. She wore a designer gown that cost more than most cars, her blonde hair arranged in an elaborate updo crown with diamonds. For a moment, raw shock registered on her perfectly made-up face before she composed herself and whispered something to her new husband. James Callaway, once Marcus's right-hand man, turned slowly. His face flushed red, then pale, then settled into a forced smile as he guided Victoria toward them. "Marcus," Victoria said, air kissing near his cheek. "I wasn't sure you'd come." Her eyes darted to Eliza, naked curiosity and assessment in her gaze. "Wouldn't miss it," Marcus replied smoothly. "Victoria, James, this is Eliza Foster." "Foster?" Victoria repeated, her perfectly shaped eyebrows rising slightly. "The name sounds familiar. I had a small label about 5 years ago," Eliza said, her voice steady. "Before the market crash." Recognition dawned in Victoria's eyes. She had always prided herself on knowing fashion. "Foster Designs. I remember now. You had that show at the Alternative Fashion Week. Whatever happened to you? You just disappeared." Before Eliza could answer, James interrupted, clearly uncomfortable with the direction of the conversation. "Well, we're glad you both could make it. Enjoy the celebration." He steered Victoria away with a hand firmly on her lower back. "Round one survived," Marcus muttered, snagging 2 champagne flutes from a passing waiter. She recognized my name, Eliza said, surprise evident in her voice. I didn't think anyone remembered. You underestimate your talent, Marcus replied. And Victoria never forgets anyone who might be useful to her someday. As they circulated through reception, Marcus introduced Eliza to various industry contacts. Some remembered Foster Designs. Others were intrigued by this unknown woman who had somehow captured Marcus Reed's attention. Through it all, Eliza maintained a quiet dignity that had first drawn Marcus to her, neither apologizing for her past nor flaunting her present circumstances. The breaking point came during dinner. They were seated at a table with several of Marcus's former colleagues, people who had chosen sides after the breakup. Conversation flowed awkwardly until one of Victoria's friends, Diane, joined them, clearly tipsy and looking for drama. "So, Eliza," she said loudly enough to attract attention from nearby tables, "how did you and Marcus meet?" "At some charity gala." Actually, Marcus began, but Eliza touched his arm lightly. "It was raining," she said simply. "I was having tea, and Marcus asked if he could join me." "How romantic," Diane said with a faux sweet smile. "And what do you do?" "I'm a designer," Eliza replied, currently working on launching a new collection. "With Marcus's backing, I assume?" Diane pressed, her implication clear. Before Eliza could respond, a man from the next table turned around. Marcus recognized him as one of the city's prominent real estate developers. "Wait, I know you," he said, pointing at Eliza. "You're that homeless woman who used to sit outside the public library. I've given you dollars before." A hush fell over the surrounding tables. Victoria, seated at the head table but within earshot, covered her mouth in fake shock that didn't hide her smile. Diane looked triumphant. Marcus felt Eliza stiffen beside him, but before he could say anything, she stood slowly, commanding the attention of everyone nearby. "Yes," she said clearly, "that was me. I lived on the streets for 3 years after losing my business. I've been both hungry and invisible to most of you in this room." She looked directly at the real estate developer. "Though I appreciate those dollars, sir. They bought me sketchbooks when I couldn't afford food." She turned to Diane next. "As for Marcus's backing, he's offered it, but on the merit of my work, not my company. Something about recognizing value where others see only surface." The silence was deafening. Marcus stood beside her, placing his hand gently at the small of her back, not to support her, he realized, but to connect himself to her strength. Victoria broke the tension with forced laughter. "Well, Marcus always did have a charitable heart, though usually it's just writing checks for tax deductions, not bringing the charity cases as plus ones." Marcus felt something snap inside him, not anger, but clarity. "Actually, Victoria," he said, his voice carrying effortlessly across the now silent section of the reception, "Eliza isn't here because I'm charitable. She's here because she's real. Something I didn't value enough when we were together. I confused shiny things with valuable ones back then." He looked at James. "A mistake that cost me in more ways than one, but also led me here. So in a way, I should thank you both." James had the decency to look uncomfortable. Victoria merely sipped her champagne, eyes narrowed. "Now, if you'll excuse us," Marcus continued, offering his arm to Eliza, "I believe this is our cue to leave. Congratulations on your wedding." As they walked out, heads held high through the whispers and stares, Eliza leaned close. "That wasn't exactly low profile." "No," Marcus agreed. "It was honest. Something I should have been a long time ago." The car ride from the wedding venue was silent for the first few minutes, both Marcus and Eliza processing what had just happened. Finally, Eliza spoke. "I'm sorry if I embarrassed you back there," she said quietly, looking out the window at the Seattle skyline passing by. Marcus turned to her in genuine surprise. "Embarrass me? Eliza, you were magnificent. I should be apologizing to you for putting you in that situation." She met his eyes then. "Why did you really invite me, Marcus?" Was it to show Victoria what she gave up? To make her jealous? Marcus pulled the car over to a scenic overlook of the city lights. He needed her to see his face for this conversation. "When I first asked you, maybe there was some of that," he admitted, "but that's not why I went through with it." "Then why?" Marcus chose his words carefully. When Victoria left, she took more than money and business secrets. She took my trust in myself, in my judgment. I started questioning every decision, every instinct. He looked out at the glittering city below. Then I met you, someone who had lost everything but still maintained her dignity, her sense of self. You didn't pretend to be anything you weren't. Being homeless strips away pretense, Eliza said wryly. Exactly, Marcus nodded, and I realized how much of my life was pretense. The right clothes, the right car, the right fiancé, all carefully curated to project success. But you were authentic in a way I'd forgotten how to be. He turned fully toward her now. I invited you tonight because you remind me of who I want to be. Not a billionaire playing games, but someone true to himself. Eliza studied him for a long moment. That's not what I expected. What did you expect? That I was arm candy. Revenge. A way to show Victoria you'd upgraded to someone younger. Marcus couldn't help but laugh. Eliza, you literally called me out for scrolling through old photos like a lovesick teenager. You made me sleep on the floor of a 5-star hotel because you said it would build character. You're the least trophy-like person I've ever met. A smile slowly spread across her face. I did do that, didn't I? Besides, Marcus continued, suddenly serious, Victoria never deserved an explanation or closure from me. This wedding wasn't about her at all. It was about me facing my past so I could move forward. He hesitated, then added, with you, maybe, if that's something you consider. Eliza's expression softened. Marcus Reed, are you saying you like me for my sparkling personality rather than my current net worth of approximately $37? That and your talent, he replied, gesturing to the sketch pad she now carried everywhere. Which reminds me, I meant what I said about funding your new line. No strings attached, regardless of whatever happens between us. You mean it, don't you? She said, wonder in her voice. I've never meant anything more, Marcus answered. Victoria and James taught me the hard way that business and personal relationships need clear boundaries. Your talent deserves backing, whether you ever speak to me again or not. Eliza reached for his hand. Thank you. For seeing me not the homeless woman, not the potential success story, just me. As they sat overlooking the city where both had experienced their greatest failures, and perhaps now the beginning of something new, Marcus realized the wedding invitation had been a gift after all, just not in the way Victoria had intended. 6 months later, the Foster Revival Fashion Show drew industry insiders and media from across the country. The collection featured elegant, practical clothing designed for women in transition pieces that could take someone from a job interview to a business meeting to an evening event without missing a beat. Backstage, Eliza directed her team with calm authority. Many of her staff were women she'd met at shelters, talented individuals who needed a chance, not charity. Her design studio operated on a profit-sharing model that Marcus's business advisors had initially questioned, but now pointed to as innovative corporate responsibility. Marcus watched from the sidelines, deliberately staying out of the spotlight. This was Eliza's moment, earned through her talent and persistence. His only contribution tonight was moral support, and the pearl pendant she wore for luck. After the triumphant final walk, as fashion critics raved and buyers placed orders, Eliza found him in the crowd. We did it, she said, eyes bright with unshed tears of joy. You did it, Marcus corrected, pulling her into an embrace. I just wrote a check. No, she insisted, drawing back to look at him properly. You believed in me when I'd stopped believing in myself. That's worth more than money. Later that night, as they walked along the waterfront near what used to be Eliza's spot on the bridge, she asked a question that had lingered between them. Do you ever regret it? Inviting me to the wedding that night. Marcus considered the past 6 months the challenges of helping someone rebuild their life while respecting their independence, the delicate balance of being both investor and partner, the gossip they'd weathered from Seattle society. He thought about who he'd been a year ago versus the man he was now. Not for a second, he answered truthfully. That night changed everything, but not how I expected. How so? I thought I needed to prove something to Victoria, to Seattle society, maybe even to myself, Marcus explained. But what I really needed was to remember what matters. Success isn't about wealth or status. It's about creating something meaningful, being someone genuine. Eliza stopped walking and turned to him. For what it's worth, I think you're the most genuine billionaire I've ever met. Marcus laughed. Considering your previous opinion of billionaires, I'm not sure that's saying much. True, she acknowledged with a smile. But you're growing on me anyway. As they continued their walk, Marcus reflected on how different this relationship was from any he'd had before. With Victoria, there had always been calculation, strategy, a sense of performing for an audience. With Eliza, there was something he'd never expected to find: peace. The freedom to be imperfect, to grow, to build something real together. 1 year to the day after Victoria's wedding, Foster Revival opened its flagship store in downtown Seattle. The location was symbolic, just 2 blocks from where Eliza had once slept on cold concrete. The store wasn't just retail space. The upper floors housed design studios where former homeless women received training in sewing, pattern making, and business skills. A portion of every sale went to housing initiatives for women in crisis. Marcus and Eliza stood together at the grand opening, her hand comfortably in his. They weren't rushing their relationship, both carried too many scars for that, but they were building something unique, a partnership of equals despite the disparity in their bank accounts. Victoria and James had divorced 3 months earlier amid rumors of his second embezzlement scheme. She'd since tried to reconnect with Marcus several times, suddenly remembering their special connection. He'd politely declined each overture. "You think she'll ever understand what she lost?" Eliza asked as they watched the crowds admiring her designs. "Probably not," Marcus replied honestly. "She was looking for what I could give her, not who I was." Some people never learn to see beyond surfaces. As the event wound down, Eliza addressed a small crowd of supporters and press. Her confidence had fully returned, but without the artifice or pretension that marked so many in the fashion world. "A year ago, I was invisible," she said simply. "Today, I want to thank everyone who helped make this vision reality, especially Marcus Reed, who saw me when no one else did." She paused, looking directly into the camera that was streaming the event. If you're watching this and feeling invisible, remember, your circumstances are not your identity. Your past is not your future. And sometimes, the most beautiful transformations begin with someone simply seeing your worth. Marcus watched her with pride, remembering the woman in the coffee shop who had refused his pity but accepted his respect. They had both transformed each other in ways neither could have imagined that rainy night. As the camera continued rolling, Eliza concluded with words that would soon become her brand signature. Like, comment, and subscribe to your own potential. The most important person who needs to recognize your worth is you. Later, alone in the empty store, Marcus found Eliza staring at a wall display, featuring her designs alongside photos of the women who made them all former homeless individuals now employed with living wages and dignity. "Full circle," he said, standing beside her. She nodded, from invisible to seen. Turning to face him, she added, "Thank you for the wedding invitation. Best +1 request I ever accepted." Marcus smiled, taking her hand. "Best impulsive decision I ever made." Sometimes, he reflected, the most valuable things in life come from the most unexpected places. And sometimes, what looks like an ending is really the beginning of something far more beautiful than you could have planned.